by the leader of majority and the chair of the particular committee. So you cannot have it twice. Let's proceed, the Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think some of these matters that are being raised.
I actually want you most importantly to restrict yourself to the matter of the public participation process and the meetings by your committee.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, due notice of the meeting for consideration of the political parties amendments was dispatched, given electronically on 14th, Tuesday 14th this month, and the coach dispatched to everybody, and Mr. Murugara, in effect yesterday, gave notice that he had given apologies for the meeting. And the meeting, the notice, listen, would you wait?
Please.
George Murugara,
you know you have made your submissions in peace. Allow your chairman also to have some peace as he submits.
Mr.
Please.
Speaker, on 14th December 2021 at 18 hours 35 minutes. This notice was electronically dispatched to every member of GLAC. Members are reminded that Thursday, we will meet the judiciary. Thereafter, embark on consideration of Political Parties Act amendments, necessitating retreat extension to Monday 20th instant. We will be taking this course, and the Registrar of Political Parties has been invited to take us through the proposals. All members are requested to avail themselves for this notice, for this noble exercise, since the amendments are scheduled for debate at a special sitting next week. That one, yes, members attended yesterday when we retreated to room 9. Honorable Murugara requested the chair to register that his apologies were not captured, the minutes. Thereafter, Mr. Speaker, we went ahead to consider the report. He never raised any complaint. He never brought any memorandum. We left that room at about 6 p.m. That the so-called memorandum was not brought to the notice of the committee at that hour.
All right.
Mr. Speaker, I know.
So we go to the leader of majority.
I know. May I continue? Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, may I continue?
Any point of order? Any point of order that I'm going to entertain? What is it, Honorable KJ? What is it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
And it's going to be a minute.
And with your protection, kindly, Mr. Speaker, I can be heard in silence.
Not a speech. A point of order is not going to be heard in silence. It's going to be heard briefly.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I did rise in my place and request that this House admits reports to this House procedurally following the provisions of Article 118 of the Constitution that requires us to have public participation. Mr. Speaker, from the chair yesterday you said public participation cannot be seen to be a cosmetic affair. Mr. Speaker, yesterday evening, the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs met, Mr. Speaker. And this is a house of records. No. Mr. Speaker, if we went, Mr. Speaker, allow me to make my point.
I'm not going to allow
Mr. Speaker, There is no consideration of memos that came in yesterday, and we cannot say that we have done conclusive public participation.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. So, Chair. Okay. Okay, proceed. Chair, proceed.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Baya, yeah. I'm not going to accept yours. No. Thank you. Chair, proceed. Proceed, Honorable Chair, and then we come to
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chair, you can wind down your. Okay. Okay, honorable members, now take your seats. Now take your seats. Take your seats.
Where are you?
Now.
Give it to Tekeche. Speaker.
Now let me comment about the Hansard. Take your seats. I comment about the Hansard. Take your seat. Take your seats, honorable members. Now is your hand. Okay. Now order, Honorable KJ. Honorable KJ, take your seat. And the rest of the members, take your seats. Now let me make a comment about the request that you have asked about the Hansard. Now can you just take your seats? I am going to order that particular member out. So take your seats. You have asked for the production of the Hansard. You have asked for the production of the Hansard. Honorable KJ, I'm going to ask that if you become unruly, I will take some step which I do not want to. You have made a request and you are still shouting. That does not make you are being very unruly. Now, you have said that you want to see the progress. So I'm not giving anybody the mic now. I am making a ruling. We will progress. We will progress. The member for Tigania West. The member for Tigania West. Member for Tigania West. Siwezi. I will not. I will not. of yesterday by Jailer Committee. It's a simple one. So we'll simply, in the meantime, as we progress, we ask that the answer be brought. Then I do not think there should be anybody else unless there is another issue that you want to canvass. So let's have, now, so I order that the Hansard record of yesterday's meeting be brought here, but in the meantime, we shall be progressing as we wait for the record. So, Honorable Leader Majority, proceed. Let's proceed. Yeah? So order, honorable members, order. So this is how we are going to progress. In the meantime, we are going to get the meeting records for the Committee on Justice yesterday. And secondly, I am going to make a ruling later, if need be, on Murugara's request and guidance. So let's progress. The two things will be handled. Proceed, Honorable. Now let me tell you, Honorable members. I know for sure you know that the ruling is not possible now because, number one, the Honorable Murugara did not give notice directly to the Speaker. He has made his notice here. And it is not your ruling anyway. It is Murugara's ruling. So we are going to progress as we get all those things. Thank you. Let's proceed. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Political Parties Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2021, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, political parties are endemic to democracy. Indeed, the kind of political democracy we are seeing in this House today is anchored on political party thinking. They are the vehicles that move our democratic space and give our citizens the opportunity to choose their leaders from amongst contenders in every election. Active participation of citizens in political parties certainly offers unique benefits to the citizens, including the opportunities to influence policy choices, choose and engage political leaders, and even run for office. Honorable Speaker, it is in this sense that this bill seeks to propose amendments aimed at strengthening party autonomy, encouraging individual and citizen participation in party politics, requiring registration of members and parties to maintain a members list, and requiring that parties be formed based on certain common political ideals. Honorable Speaker, when we enacted the 2010 Constitution, we did define political parties within Article 260. And the political party was defined as an association contemplated in Part 3 of Chapter 7. Now, Chapter 3 of Part 7, Honorable Speaker, contains two parts, or two sections, 91 and 92. 91 defines the characteristics that a political party must have. That it shall have a national character, it shall have a democratic elected governing body, it shall promote national unity, it shall abide by a certain values that every political party should have. It also, in the sub-article 2, defines what a party shall not have. But Article 92 then put the responsibility on this parliament to legislate on political parties. So we then went ahead and legislated in 2011. And when we did the Political Parties Act, number 11 of 2011, we then in clause 2, defined, which is now section 2, we defined a political party as has the same meaning, has a meaning assigned to it in Article 260 of the Constitution. So we ended up with a situation where the House that was given the power by the Kenyan people to define a political party did not do the definition, and hence we've been having so since 2011 we've been having this problem where a political party has not been defined by this House. Yet the responsibility was put on this House to even define a political party. Honorable Speaker, when there was a case, the Political Parties Coalition Forum went to court when we were seeking funding for political parties in a coalition. And the courts did rule in 2016, and the matter was upheld in the Court of Appeal that the law does not define a political party. And it is the responsibility of Parliament to define a political party and not the courts. So, what we then did is, first of all, we must take that cue from the courts. The courts have said that Parliament was expected to define a political party. Parliament has not defined a political party, and hence the courts cannot define what a political party means. So hence, one of the provisions within this political party amendment is to define what a political party is. And it's an association of citizens with common ideals that are pursuing a certain agenda. So first of all, this bill cures one of the problems we have within our law, where political parties are not defined. And this is one of the fundamental amendments that we are bringing in this bill. This bill also goes ahead and says Article 260 envisages an association. It does not define whether it's an association of natural persons or legal persons or parties or bodies, and hence, in this definition, which has been proposed for debate in this House, it's for debate in this House. This definition now that we are putting, that basically says that an association, that a political party is now being defined for avoidance of doubt as an association of citizens with an identifiable ideology or program that is constituted for the purposes of influencing public policy or nominating candidates to contest election. That definition does not exist in our law today because we just did a convoluted thing. The Constitution says it's an association as contemplated in Part 7. In our law, we then said it's an association as defined in Article 260. So the two of them have never defined a political party. So for once, we are going to have a definition of a political party. Now, we also looked at the history of this country. Going back to, let's start from 2002 or even late 90s, when NDP merged with KANU, and NDP was merged into KANU, they could not make a decision, they exploded. 2002, Democratic Party, Ford Kenya, and National Party of Kenya, plus the Rainbow Coalition, came together under the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC. It could not be possible to register a coalition, and hence we adopted one of the parties, NPK, to change its name. Immediately the parties got into power. NAC was reclaimed by the owner, and hence, all of a sudden, the whole government was at the behest of one of the owners of the party. Fast forward to 2013, TNA got into a coalition with URP. And in that coalition, the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, had a running mate from URP, but who could not run on URP because the party, the polo, does not recognize coalitions. So His Excellency William Ruto had to run on TNA. Now, move forward to 2017. Let's move just, for example, to 2017. A number of parties, ODM, Wiper, ANC, Ford Kenya, moved together as the National Super Alliance. But the National Super Alliance could not sponsor a candidate. So ODM sponsored the candidate, right? Including the running mate, who was not from ODM. And as a result, we all know the issues that have happened since then. In between, in 2016, Jubilee attempted to cure the problem and amalgamated all the parties that had supported Jubilee in the coalition. We know the story that happened, yeah? So, of course, some people have bolted, yeah? But the issue we need to look at is that in Kenya, it's so clear that coalitions will be the issue of the future. It's a global phenomenon. In Britain, there are coalitions. In Germany, there are coalitions. In South Africa, there's coalitions. Everywhere, it's coalitions. But how do we ensure that parties that come together through a coalition are protected from the issues we have seen in the past? And you see, that is what we need to think of. That when 2 or 3 parties come together, it cannot be the big brother that they are relying on to protect them. They must be protected in law. And hence, what we are providing for now is a legal recognition of any framework that allows 3 or so political parties to come up together so that they sponsor their candidates as a political party, they share in the money as a political party, and it's not up to big brother or small brother to control the shots. Now, that is the best thing that can happen to this country. And I would doubt why would anyone even have a problem with this kind of arrangement where your small party is protected, you as an individual is protected, and we can move forward. Honorable Speaker, we also know that we've been having problems with access to political party funding. Political parties are funded by the Exchequer to the tune of 0.3% of the national revenue. Okay, we'll be making an amendment to that because the national revenue reference was in 2011. Now we know it's shareable revenue, which excluding the money for counties. But that money is only accessible to what we call the big boys. that money has never been accessible to the small parties. So small parties will have 3-4 members of parliament, they will have a governor, they will have some members of the county assemblies, but they cannot access the national kitty that's set up to promote the growth of democracy in this country. So one of the amendments that are being proposed in this law is to lower the thresholds for access into the national funds that are being provided for the growth of democracy in this country, so that any party that wins a seat, be it in the county assembly, be it as a governor, be it in the Senate, or be it in this National Assembly, has put enough effort to merit participating in the sharing of the national funds. And you see, this is the kind of thing that is good for democracy in this country. Now, we may oppose things because we think we don't need this. Now, I want to say, if a small party like the PDR was not given a coalition housing by Jubilee, there will be no Uda today. Because PDR, as a small party, was housed by a bigger party. It was able to produce a bigger party. So, basically, what we are looking at in these amendments, all these amendments typically have been brought in to ensure that we now clean up the mess we have not cleaned up since 2011. What the courts have told us, you need to clean up so that political parties can be properly defined. The issue of coalition parties, the sharing of money, and most importantly also, how we participate within our nominations, so that we don't have a situation where one party goes to influence the results of another political party at the nomination to get the weakest candidate. Only members of a certain political party will be able to participate. We've seen that happen where the worst candidates have been produced because a political party that has an interest in an area goes and influences the results of that by briskly supporting the weakest candidate. So, honorable members, I wish to ask that you look at this bill and look at it from a positive perspective in terms of how it enriches democracy. And if you find that there are some areas that require amendments, let us reason together. Let us bring those amendments. Let us harmonize them so that we give to the Kenyan people a political party act that will withstand the test of time now and into the future. Honorable Speaker, I could go on and on, but I don't want to go through some.
Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leave the matter at that point and urge members that let us think when we are legislating for posterity. We are not legislating for any of us, but basically for the bigger good of the people of Kenya, to ameliorate the suffering of the ordinary Kenyan who is suffering because of the issues we have. Now, no, yeah. So, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. No, it's okay. No, I beg to move and request the chair of JAILAC, who had the responsibility and honor to get a public participation, to take us through the process of what they did, so that the issue that people are raising that there was no public participation, I know there was a lot of public participation. Before the publication of this bill, there was public participation. After the publication of this bill, there was public participation. In Mombasa, there was public participation. So we know that this bill has gone through the most extensive public participation, including by all the political parties who have been invited and who have done the bid. But, so, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and ask the Honorable Muturi Kigano to second.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second and I confirm and fortify what the leader of opposition has said. Majority. You are opposition. Sam Koch. Yes. Yes. Mr. Speaker, the leader of majority has expounded on Article 270 as it relates to the meaning of political parties. Mr. Speaker, I confirm that my committee looked into this and we found that Article 260 reposes the ascription of meaning to registration through Article 292. If you look at the subheading of Article 292, it speaks for itself. Registration on political parties. Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for, among other things, the management of political parties. So a definition, therefore, the definition is therefore reposed. It is reposed to registration. Now, the registration that has ascribed meaning is the bill now. The bill that is before this House is the one under Clause 2. The bill, the Political Bills Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. Speaker, if you can protect me from this hecura. Yeah? I don't know what type of government they would have. The government they aspire to have. A government of disorder and everything. Mr. Speaker, the bill here is going to remove, to erase any overlapping mandates between IBC and the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties to enhance effective management of political parties and define the role of the Registrar of the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties regarding independent candidates, and to implement the Constitution, fully implement the Constitution to address the gaps identified in the Office of the Registrar. For example, the meaning of what a political party, a coalition party is. Mr. Speaker, coalitions is the in thing now in the world. If you look at Germany today, it is a coalition of several political parties. India, the biggest democracy in the Commonwealth. The government today of Modi government has 7 political parties in his coalition. It is a coalition government. Mr. Speaker, I know it is everywhere. Mr. Speaker, I know it is choreographed. This Muragara and Songkok are choreographing as a way of disrupting everybody who speaks here so that they can buy time. Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks to provide, as I said, proper definition of what a political party and a coalition is. It also seeks to define party nominations, provide for party nominations to differentiate same from registration of candidates in elections. It also seeks rules of political parties as required under Article 292, and also registration of coalitions and submission of pre-election agreements. Mr. Speaker, parties as they start today are a bit, they are not properly defined. So you need now to define the ideology and the slogans. We also need to have timelines for reservations of names, symbols, colors, lifespan, and provision of registration, streamlining the resignation, expulsion of members, and deeming of resignation, including the organ of thus you shall do it. The disbursement, Mr. Speaker, if you can protect me from these hecklers.
There cannot be any heckling member.
The regulation.
Members can only consult a little higher. So what the most
they
important
cannot
thing
be
is
honorable, the hecklers.
You summarize and we are fine.
Mr. Speaker, we also need to delete their constitutional provisions from the Act, including Section 22(3) that attempts to introduce a new ground on how a vacancy arises in Parliament of county assemblies. So, in effect, this is a bill that we will have to go to the other house. It also needs to introduce alternative forms of publications for... Mr. Speaker, lastly, I need to summarize and say these bills seeks to address overlapping of mandates, the enhancement of effective management of parties, the implementation of the Constitution, including Articles 82, 90, 2, 103, to address the gaps identified in execution of the office of the mandate, lessons learned from experiences to address needs of Kenyans as drawn from stakeholder engagements, to address domestic and international jurisprudence, which we have drawn from Katiba Institute. So, Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I beg to second.
And I propose the question, which is that the Political Parties Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2021, be now read a second time. Minority, Leader Minority.
Mr. Speaker, I want to take the shortest time possible. Even though I have 15 minutes, I'll take a third of that. Mr. Speaker, first I want to address myself the question of whether, when we expand the definition of a political party, that infringes on the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I would want to invite those who are arguing like that to look at Article 92 and see that we were required to bring clarity in terms of defining what a political party means. So that is number one, Mr. Speaker. Number two, those who are complaining about this bill, I don't know whether they have taken time to read it and understand the provisions of Clause 13, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, under Clause 13, you will realize that presently, if for whatever reason, registrar deregisters or suspends a political party, Mr. Speaker, the only people who are saved is a member of parliament and members of county assemblies. The president, if elected on that party that is being deregistered, or the deputy president, are not protected. So, Mr. Speaker, the provisions of under Clause 13 now protects also the president and the deputy president and even the governors. Anybody elected on a political party that has been deregistered or suspended would continue serving in the office, something that is not keyword in the current law as we have it today. Mr. Speaker, those of us who are making noise about these amendments should understand that there is no process of disciplining a party member as it is today. This law provides a clear mechanism and details on how due process of disciplining a member will be taken. And it is of benefit to some of us who are making noise here, Mr. Speaker, because Mr. Speaker, we require this law to be clear on what process would be followed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my second last remark is as follows. Mr. Speaker, as it is today, the political parties' funds, there is no clear provision on how to divide it to parties which form coalition. And Mr. Speaker, looking forward, Mr. Speaker, how I wish that those members of parliament, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, these members, if they had numbers, we have been told about 150 members supporting a particular cause. Mr. Speaker, you can see when we come to the floor of this House, the members are hardly 20, and that is why they are making noise, because they know they don't have the capacity, they don't have the numbers, they don't have even intellectual capacity to argue their case, and therefore they will continue making noise. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the provisions of this bill, Mr. Speaker, it is clear that now even those political parties which don't have the numbers in the House but have elected leaders will benefit from political parties' funds. So, Mr. Speaker, let me just conclude. That, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues on the other side of the political divide, who have been boasting of numbers in the streets, who have been talking of 150 members, today we want to see where are those 150 members. So instead of making noise, instead of shouting like Alice Wahome is shouting as if she's in a marketplace, Alice Wahome should tell us where there are 150 members that they have been boasting around that they have 150 members and they have only 20, 25 members.
Okay.
If you don't have numbers, don't waste our time. Don't waste our time. We have come here to debate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Honorable Dr. Pukose. Dr. Pukose. Dr. Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to contribute to this political parties amendment bill. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I know there are some good amendments, but generally, we also have amendments that members will be able to amend. And Honorable Speaker, my main issue is that this bill has hurriedly been brought and even members being called away from their vacation to come and contribute. To me, I think the issue of having free and fair elections, if this House is not careful, will be a mirage. Of interest, Honorable Speaker, Clause 10 of the bill provides that a person who while being a member of a political party shall be deemed to have resigned from that party if that person promotes the ideology, interests, or policies of another political party. This provision, Honorable Speaker, can be used to limit the political rights of members as exposed in Article 38 of the Constitution, which provides that every citizen, including members of Parliament, have a right to campaign for a political party or a cause and is free to make political choices. The bill outlaws these political rights, and more so, if enacted, shall be used to threaten members who support certain causes, for instance, economic empowerment and other ideologies of a party for which a member believes. Honorable Speaker, as the minority leader was contributing, you know, members were saying parties like Wiper have not been paid up to date by ODM. And the Honorable Speaker, when you look at Clause 15 of the bill, it amends Section 25 of the Political Parties Act to provide for the formula of distribution of the political parties fund, which is proposed as in the bill. Honorable Speaker, what happens when you have a repeat election? Are you going to use the presidential results for the first election or for of the repeat elections? And for instance, NASA boycotted the repeat elections for the presidents. So what happens? Do they get money for the repeat elections? So I think that needs to be very clear. Honorable Speaker, Clause 20 FD and FE of the bill provides additional functions for the registrar, which shall be to regulate political party nominations and train political party election agents. Is this not an interference by the registrar with the manner in which political parties shall conduct their affairs? How do you bring the registrar to be the one who will be able to regulate political party activities? What role does the registrar have in party nominations and training party election agents? This cannot be the case unless it's a decoy to interfere with the party nominations and election results. Parties should be free to conduct their nominations and choose and train persons of their choice as party agents. Honorable Speaker, in clause 22 of the bill, it seeks to provide requirements for conduct of political party nominations, which includes the requirements that a political party that intends to conduct a political party nominations under this Act shall apply in writing to the registrar of political parties for a certified copy of the register. What happens when the certified copy of the register is interfered? Some of you members might find yourself you are not in that register. We can only, what happens within even a constituency where you have members that have registered as voters? It is not just that you will get votes from only your political party. So for me, I think we must be able to use the IBC register, not the register by the political party registrar. Because when you use the register by the political party registrar, what it means is that some of the members will be locked out of that register, because by then you realize that you are not in the register and you are told you are not a member of that party for which you are. As currently is, we know that members have been put into a register or into a political party that you've not even registered. People go to M-Pesa agents, get people's details, and register you in a political party of their choice. It is, however, notable that the bill outlaws the participation of any person who is not a registered member of the political party to participate in the party nominations. This shall technically lock out many registered voters from nominating their candidates, as they must be members of the political party conducting nominations. Honorable Speaker, from what I have highlighted, I beg to oppose the second reading of the bill unless it is amended to accord with Article 38 of the Constitution on the political rights, and more so, allow parties to exercise their affairs democratically without threat or interference. One cannot talk of free general elections when parties are also not free to run their affairs. What is, however, clear is that the bill was brought as a decoy to change the terrain of political parties. To this end, I stand to be counted, Honorable Speaker, that this bill intentions are hidden. Honorable Speaker, I beg to oppose. Thank you.
Now, the Honorable Dr. Wamalwa. Honorable Dr. Wamalwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking as the Secretary General of Ford Kenya Party. And Mr. Speaker, I'm also speaking on behalf of Political Parties Liaison Committee. Mr. Speaker, there's an English proverb which says, the shoe wearer knows where it pinches. Mr. Speaker, we've been in coalitions. We were in CORD and we were in NASA. Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, I had brought a law, Mr. Speaker, of the recognitions of coalition, more importantly, on the aspect of political parties funding. Mr. Speaker, when you look at this, Mr. Speaker, when you look at this law, Mr. Speaker, it has some merits and it has some demerits. Mr. Speaker, Article 94 of the Constitution is clear. When it comes to matters of legislation, this House has the legislative authority. Mr. Speaker, we are going to debate this bill, and where there's an issue, Mr. Speaker, in the committee of the whole House, we are going to propose amendments. I request the honorable members, Mr. Speaker, we debate this bill with decorum. Mr. Speaker, I want to take members to the memory lane. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, we were in code coalition, Mr. Speaker. This was Ford Kenya, NASA, and ODM. Then 2017, we had Wiper, ANC, Ford Kenya, and ODM. And when we confronted the register of political parties, Mr. Speaker, she could not send us political parties funding directly. It had to go to the big brother ODM. And Mr. Speaker, now with this law, the register of political parties will be able to disperse funds directly to that members of that coalition, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you look at this bill, Mr. Speaker, when you look at this bill, it has even reduced the threshold for you to gain the political parties fund. Mr. Speaker, under the Political Parties Act, you are required for you to be registered as a political party. You must have minimum of 24 offices in the counties, Mr. Speaker. You also you need to have registered members, Mr. Speaker, 1,000 minimum in every county. For you to fulfill that, Mr. Speaker, you need money. The small political parties, Mr. Speaker, have really suffered. Under the Political Parties Act, there's 0.3%, Mr. Speaker, that is supposed to be channeled to the political parties for purposes of enhancing democracy. Mr. Speaker, on that note, me who has been the shoe wearer, Ford Kenya has suffered. Wiper had also suffered. ANC has suffered. KANU has suffered. Tomorrow, you never know, Mr. Speaker. So in terms of this provision, Mr. Speaker, this is going to heal in terms of sharing political parties funds. On the other contrary, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the negative part of this bill, which you are proposing amendments, Mr. Speaker, in the committee of the whole House, is to force political parties that the coalition must be done at least 6 months to general election. That want to amend, Mr. Speaker, so that you can allow coalitions as late as possible in line with the elections calendar, Mr. Speaker. When we go to the committee of the whole House, President Mwai Kibaki's coalition, Mr. Speaker, was formed as late as 90 days to the general election. So that is the bit, Mr. Speaker, that I call upon the honorable members. When we come to the committee of the whole House, we should be able to amend accordingly so that we give people freedom, Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of having free and fair elections, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a multi-party democracy. And the future of this country, Mr. Speaker, is in the coalitions. There's no way a single political party, Mr. Speaker, can grab power without coming up to negotiate. And in the spirit of negotiation, Mr. Speaker, under MOUs, it must be a win-win situation to every party. It is a give and take. I'm calling the honorable members to look at this bill objectively. Let's look at the gains of this bill, and where we need amendments, let's come and reason together and be able to amend accordingly for purposes of having free and fair elections, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I support.
Honorable Rachel Nyamai. Rachel Nyamai. Rachel Nyamai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. From the onset, Honorable Speaker, I support this Political Parties Amendment Bill with very clear reasons, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, these amendments that we are doing are going to give an opportunity within the law to be able to conduct direct nominations and also indirectly within the law, Honorable Speaker. And this is going to be cheaper for our political parties. The participation of the members' lists in the nominations, Honorable Speaker, is also going to bring some sanity in nominations, so that people are not put in situations whereby other political parties will gang up against a candidate who is strong within a certain region. Honorable Speaker, as my colleagues have said, the future of this country, Honorable Speaker, is going to be in coalitions. And anybody, Honorable Speaker, who is scared of coalitions should know that this is the way to go. The situation of winner take it all is also going to be healed by the amendments that we are doing today, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the situation, Honorable Speaker, that some individuals seem to be scared of, whereby one individual wants to take control of the win and other people slightly lower than the winner are not given an opportunity to speak. It's not going to happen, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the issue of sharing political parties' funds is also strongly going to be handled by these amendments that we are doing today, Honorable Speaker, whereby especially the small political parties are not going to be messed up by the big political parties, as it has happened with the Wiper, which some people are shouting, and I believe that they are not shouting because they are happy for Wiper. It's because of different reasons, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, yes, Kalonzo will be able to benefit, among others. Honorable Speaker, the matter of freedom of association is clear within our Constitution. So, the amendments that we are going to do today, or to amend today, Honorable Speaker, are going to give an opportunity, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the amendments that we are going to do, Honorable Speaker, will give a situation whereby different parties that have the same ideologies and the same policies can come together and lead within the law. Honorable Speaker, also registration of the coalition is very important, such that in case of any agreement that happens, Honorable Speaker, what was agreed within the coalition is registered by the political parties' registrar. And this will bring an opportunity whereby disputes can be resolved. Honorable Speaker, it's going to be cheaper for political parties in terms of nominations, and this is one of the reasons as to why I support this amendment, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also, we are going to give an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to IEBC to focus on real elections, so that matters of nominations are handled by the political parties, so that IEBC does not get involved in both nominations and matters of the general election, Honorable Speaker. This gives the registrar a clear role in nominations, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, recognition of coalitions in this CPP is also in the same spirit of BBI that we had, and I believe, as an individual and as a member of, the member for Kitui South, that this is going to give a situation whereby our country, which is composed of big and small communities, different colors, red, white, black, yellow, will have an opportunity to be put together, green, to be put together in a situation whereby we have a stake in this country. So, Honorable Speaker, as a support, I want to say that anybody who has a problem with coalitions is not the best for the future of this country. And anybody, Honorable Speaker, who feels that small political parties should be collapsed in order to give space for one huge political party means that they have a problem with working with the other people. So, Honorable Speaker, as I sit, I would like to say that this CPP is going to give a chance to our country, to our parties, with the same ideologies, with the same parties, to be able to sit together. Honorable Speaker, I actually look forward already to this passing of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I stand to support, Mr. Speaker, the political parties amendment bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge members that this is how Parliament conducts its business, Mr. Speaker. There must be a bill, there must be a debate, there must be a voting, and it will be decided in one way or the other, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, secondly, coalitions are here to live with us, Mr. Speaker, for the longest time possible, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since the advent of multi-party politics, Mr. Speaker, coalitions have been in existence. And this is a bill that is going to make coalitions work better. This is a bill that is going to make our politics have better hygiene, Mr. Speaker, than it was, Mr. Speaker. You could hear people raising issues of previous coalitions, Mr. Speaker. Exactly, this bill is supposed to cure those problems, Mr. Speaker. This bill is supposed to make our politics going forward better than it is today, Mr. Speaker. I know there are people who don't believe in coalitions. There are people who believe in political parties. There are people who want to be independent. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution guarantees everyone their right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this House will not decide this bill based on how loud your voice is, Mr. Speaker. This House is going to decide based on the persuasion every member makes to the other, whether it makes sense what you are saying or not, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge my colleagues to debate this bill with sobriety so that we can have a bill that is going to help this country, a bill that is going to be for posterity, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, for those who are there in last Parliament, it is normal for amendment to the Elections Act to the political...
It's being processed, Mr. Speaker, completely ignoring procedural issues. Directly points to a situation where, Mr. Speaker, this bill runs contrary to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, especially when you look at the proposals regarding formation of a political party. The definition of what is a political party, Mr. Speaker, cannot be changed by a legislative enactment, Mr. Speaker. And that's what this bill, Mr. Speaker, is trying to do in some of the proposals that it has come up with. Mr. Speaker, even the fact that we have been summoned for a special meeting, Mr. Speaker, sitting of this House, points to the direction that there are people intended on controlling the general elections through this bill, Mr. Speaker, in August 2022. You will allow me say my thing, because we can see through these provisions the hand of the handshake partners, Mr. Speaker, who are now desperate and think that they can use the law, use this House, Mr. Speaker, to bring up provisions of the law that will facilitate an amorphous coalition of parties. The law today, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, allows coalition of parties. It allows coalition of political parties by the deposit of a memorandum to the registrar of political parties. What is this thing that has become so urgent, Mr. Speaker, that requires the session of the House to be called from leave, Mr. Speaker, to come and register it? When you look at the provision, every election period, Mr. Speaker, we find that there are disruptive provisions of the law that have been brought or are intended to give undue advantage to some people. Mr. Speaker, I'm therefore finding that the exercise of this House today, the summoning of this House today, in respect of this bill, absolutely unnecessary, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the control, I will be moving some amendments, Mr. Speaker, on the register of members. We cannot allow the registrar of political parties to be the holder of the data of members of political parties. And Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious attempt by the registrar of political parties with the deep state, I dare say, to control the register of members of political parties. And that will not be allowed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is a shame that when people are dying, people have eaten, have taken cancer billions, we are being summoned today to discuss about the formation of coalitions instead, Mr. Speaker, of dealing with pandemic, including the pandemic in this House, Mr. Speaker, where yesterday every 8 people out of 10 who were tested, Mr. Speaker, turned positive, COVID positive yesterday. It is even exposing the members, Mr. Speaker, with a very useless bill. Mr. Speaker. This is not a pro-people bill. Mr. Speaker, this is not a pro-people bill. This is a very selfish move by this House today. We have a Political Parties Act that is able to deal with the issues of going forward. If, for example, bad habits, like the ones of the ODM, by denying other parties their money, if that is what they are trying to cure, that cannot be cured by the law, Mr. Speaker. That can only be cured through good behavior, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we want to tell them, you can deposit a memorandum of how you share the money and honor the memorandum, because many of you have never known how to honor memorandums, to honor gentlemen agreement and ladies agreement. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to add anything. And we are happy that people, Mr. Speaker, are you, Mr. Speaker, you know there are people, Mr. Speaker, that have become used about intimidation, about wanting to curtail the democratic space of other people. I am on the floor of the House, and if you mean you want to curtail the independence, the freedom of speech, including in the House, I think, honorable members, we are going the wrong direction. This bill will, if this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I want to go on record, if this bill is passed, this bill will find difficulties and challenges in court by reason of its unconstitutionality.
All right.
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that if this bill finds, honorable members, let me talk. I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, for record, if this bill passes the way it is, and I know we will be looking at it because I have opposed most of it, it will find challenges on the floor or in the court for reasons of unconstitutionality.
Thank you very much. Honorable Janet Ongera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this bill. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support, and I would like to request our honorable members of this House to listen to what I have to say, because, Mr. Speaker, I believe I'm one of the most sober members in Kieleweke. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak from experience. Mr. Speaker, I have run political parties for 10 years in my other previous life. And one of the reasons, Mr. Speaker, that was most challenging was the fact that we never had provisions for coalition political parties, whereby you would have corporate membership, Mr. Speaker. When I look at this bill, Mr. Speaker, it has provided for single political parties of single member constituency. I have seen that this amendment is going to provide for corporate membership. That is a coalition of political parties. It is also providing, Mr. Speaker, for alliances to be formed. What better democracy, Mr. Speaker, can we have when we are speaking about being democratic, except by going through the way of these amendments? Mr. Speaker, the second point that I would like to say, Mr. Speaker, one of the greatest challenges that we have had in Kenya was how to share political funding, particularly where we have coalitions. Mr. Speaker, I remember that the late Kalembe Ndile died crying that his money by Jubilee Party. Mr. Speaker, I know that our partners in NASA were crying that ODM never gave them their money until recently. Mr. Speaker, what better provision than to have a clear provision that the registrar of political parties can actually divide this money based on proportionate representation. Mr. Speaker, I urge, and I seriously urge my colleagues in Tanga to look at this with clear eyes. Don't be clouded. Don't be clouded by the arena of the heat of politics. History will judge us wrongly. Let us look at this with very sober eyes and look at the provisions. There is nothing that is hidden here. This is very clear. Mr. Speaker, with those two remarks, I support this amendment. Thank you.
Honorable Eseli Simiyu. Honorable Eseli Simiyu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also make my contribution to this bill. Mr. Speaker, this is my third term in this parliament, and all my time has been in coalition. In fact, I've been also part of the people who are negotiating formation of the two past coalitions, CORD and later on NASA. Mr. Speaker, I can assure the House that Kenya is a coalition of states, so a coalition of nations. Nations, the Luya nation, the Kikuyu nation, the whatever nation, all those are nationalities. But then Kenya was crafted by the colonialists, and now we are a coalition of all those nations. We cannot escape the fact that our politics will also be governed by coalitions. These coalitions are an attempt, to actually overcome the issues of exclusivity in running the government. These coalitions are curing the issue of inclusivity so that people can feel included in the governance of the country. Mr. Speaker, if you don't know your history, if you don't remember your history, you are bound to repeat the same mistakes that led to that history. In the sense that we've all seen in the recent past a coalition like Jubilee opting to form one juggernaut party, and in the process, it is slowly imploding. A coalition like NASA, eventually, because of issues of funding, eventually implodes. All this need a cure, and this is one way that we can cure the problem. Mr. Speaker, I'll be very brief with this last comment. It is important that we all note there are those who are concerned about the timeline of forming coalitions. But we must note several things. One, IEBC will require time in order to do the ballots and all that. That time scale cannot be ignored. And it has to be done properly. We all know the history of IEBC, who have had issues with procurement. We must give them enough time to be able to do their procurement. But then there are those who are uncomfortable with the time stipulated in the bill on formation of coalitions. But this discomfort, Mr. Speaker, is mainly dishonest. This discomfort is dishonest in the sense that there are people and several parties which are well known who are sitting on the fence waiting for the highest bidder. And these sort of coalitions and these sort of parties fear that when they are told to do their coalition 6 months to the election, they'll be discovered where they lean to. And they are hoping to ride in such a way that they are not uncovered until 3 months to the election. And that's the discomfort about the timeline. Otherwise, there should be no discomfort about the timeline. If you want to play clean politics, make your coalition early enough so that you are able to go and campaign. You are able to give IEBC time to also prepare the ballots. But, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill. I support this bill and insist that we as Kenyans must rise up to correct the mistakes that we've made, to be able to make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes again. Mr. Speaker,
What is
I
it,
support.
Honorable Mwadi? What is it, Honorable Mwadi? You don't, even you, once you have put your card, it is enough. You don't have to put your hand up. What is it, Honorable Mwadi?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I've been following the debate. You have listened to the merits and demerits as articulated by those who have debated before. But at this point, Honorable Speaker, rising under Order 95, to ask that the mover be called upon to reply so that we can deal with the matters later.
Honorable members, there are things that you will make decisions, but before we make those decisions, I want to make a ruling on what Honorable Murugara had asked me to do, and I'll be very brief because it's as brief as that. The Honorable Murugara raised two substantive issues, very substantive, that there was no public participation on the amendments proposed, the amendment bill, and secondly, that the amendments proposed are in breach of Article 260, Part 3 of Chapter 7 of the Constitution. The easier bit is about, the first one is about the lack of public participation. Honorable members, it has been established, and it is part of the report, that the advertisements were duly run by the Clerk of the National Assembly to notify the public of hearings of political parties bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2021, and to seek views of public through the said advertisement. I am aware that several groups appeared before the committee. The matter of public participation is therefore settled. You remember yesterday, honorable members, the matter was brought to today because yesterday was the deadline at 5. So the issue of public participation is settled. On Article 260, Part 3, Chapter 7 of the Constitution, is plainly providing for scope and requirement for political parties under Article 91 and 92 in generality. This House, therefore, insists to this particular important matter, and you will have your way to decide one way or the other. Apart from defining the political party, which is clearly not defined in the Constitution, the amendment proposes to deal with many other important issues, which will be up to you, honorable members, to make that particular decision. So, honorable members, then I propose to the second issue as to whether you would want the mover to be called to reply as proposed by Honorable Mwadi. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Clearly, honorable members, you can take your seats. No, don't take your seats. Allow the counting of these particular members, those who are standing. Count the numbers, and we confirm that we have the numbers to proceed to the next step. Yeah, just a minute, please. We are confirming. Those who are standing, don't sit down. Order. Close now all the doors, including hapa or close huko. Yeah. Laini wasikuja hapa. Masara. Kwani you are 65 of you. But at least tulikuona ukitaka kupiga mtu.
Unajua walipanga kuharibu parliament.
Yeah, don't worry, it's okay. Now it's settled.
No, but unaona hiyo act yangu imefanya watu wametulia. Unafaa unipe check.
Now anybody who goes out will not come back. Now members, take your seats because take your seats, honorable members. You need to vote now. Take your seats. All the doors now are closed, including these ones going to the small chambers back behind here. Order, members. Now let me, first of all, put the question, which is that the Political Parties Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 56 of 2021, be now read a second time. That is the question. No, sorry. Let's start first with the mover be called upon to reply. That was a particular question. So let me repeat again on record that the mover be now called upon to reply. All right? Now there'll be two sets of voting. You will vote electronically for those who have cards. And so that we do not disenfranchise members who have not come with cards today, we understand the circumstances, will be allowed to vote manually. And those who are voting yes, other members. I mean, members know their thing. So I'm sure it is you are sufficiently guided. So we will take that now. So those voting yes will come to the right of the speaker, and those voting no, that is the position. To the right of the speaker, those who are voting yes, those who are voting no, to the left of the speaker. That's the position. It does not matter. Maybe today you would have wanted to be nearer, but that is the tradition of the House. The ones voting yes always votes to the right of the speaker. And those who have your cards ready, we will be voting electronically. So what you need to do, those ones who do not have cards, just come. Just a minute. Now, order members, order. Order. Honorable Nasir, put on your mask properly. Now, members, remove your cards. Remove your cards. Log out, honorable members. Those who have cards, log out fast. Yeah? Order members, please resume your seats. We will vote manually, all of us. So you will be called out and you will vote. Everybody, honorable members, because most of you don't seem to have cards. So majority, so let's do a manual one.
Let's go manual, yeah.
Yeah, take your seats. Take your seats. Take your seats. Take your seats. We are going to start immediately. So let's have the register quickly. Please take your seats. Everybody seems to be.
Members at the National Assembly in this special sitting taking their position in the voting process. This will be manual voting process. The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Cheboy, has just directed that members put themselves in order to enable them participate in this manual voting. This is in accordance to the question that has been put, that the mover of the bill be called to reply, and this will require the two sides to declare their positions, whether they are objecting to that particular move or they would like
the mover of the bill to be called to reply. This is a special sitting, and this morning the members began debating on the Political Parties Amendment Bill 2021. That is the only bill in the order paper this morning. It is a bill that has elicited varied reactions from the members and factions of political parties, raising issues on a number of the clauses in the bill, among them the formation of coalitions and the political parties,
members, we need two tellers, one for ayes, two each, two for ayes and two for nays. And clearly, we just hold on. And all the members who will be voting aye will be to the right of the speaker, and then they will come and have their names recorded there. Those ones who will be voting nay will be to the left. And then they will also record their names very clearly, because maybe 70% of the members do not have. So we'll have two tellers. No. Now, and sit in your places, please. Just to the left and to the, yeah.
This is the division process currently ongoing at the National Assembly. This is in accordance to the move by the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Moses Chiboi, that the mover of the bill be called to reply, but it has necessitated the House to go on division for the members to decide or make their decision on whether they would like the mover of the bill to be called to reply. And this will see members vote on either side, whether they would like or not. And this one will see members who will vote yes, perhaps go to the right side of the speaker, and those who will be objecting. Those who will be objecting to that particular move, then they will be moving to the left side of the speaker and record their names. That is what is currently happening at the floor of the House. Members deliberating on which side they will be taking at this particular moment. It is a crucial moment. It is a crucial bill. It is a bill that has seen the House sort of divided this afternoon, but the debate began this morning, and the members have to be keen on the decision they are making, because as each member rose to give their opinions and their views, then each and every individual had their own opinions on this particular bill, those in support and those who are objecting it in totality. So here it can be called a game of numbers, because again there are two sides, those who are supporting it and those who are saying that it does not conform to the Constitution. Some questioning the time that it has been brought to the floor of the House. Remember, these members were on a long recess, the annual long recess of about 7 weeks, but they were called to this particular special sitting just to enable this particular bill be debated on. It is supposed to be ready or passed in a period of about 6 months to the general elections. So like I told you earlier on, it's a game of numbers that political factions have to lobby for their members to make a wise decision, for the two sides to get the numbers, the requisite number that is needed for the bill to go to the next stage. It is a crucial moment. Members, they are still lobbying, still deliberating. Some perhaps in the middle, not knowing which side to go to. Others already decided. But at the end of the day, it's a game of numbers. Remember, it is a bill that has elicited varied reactions, leaving the House divided. And it is actually a bill that is likely to take, or rather to go on for the rest of this particular day. Like I told you, it is the only bill on today's order paper. And the members will have to be keen on each and every move that they make before the floor of the House this afternoon. Some of the issues that members who stood to give out their views on the bill this morning, all the way to the afternoon hours, is on the issue of coalitions. Again, the issue of formation of political parties. Clause 13 of this bill provides for the amendment of Section 21 of the Act to provide for both the suspension and the registration of a political party and the applicable process for suspension or the registration, where members who agree to this particular bill say that it is an opportunity for political parties, or rather members of a political party, in case a political party has been deregistered, then still protects everyone. This is in contrary to what the Political Act of 2011 said, and they were saying that this particular bill, especially this particular clause, allows for members of a political party to benefit or to be protected in case a political party is deregistered. Members, they are saying that this bill will actually protect everyone and that it should be voted for. Clause 14 of the bill provides for the amendment of Section 22 of the Act to provide for the continued holding of an office established under the Constitution by a person elected to that office after the deregistration of the political party to which that person belongs, whether or not the person joins another political party or remains independent of any political party. Some of the issues that members are objecting to, or that has caused the House to be divided, include the time. MPs here racing against time to dispense pressing matters, including election-related laws before re-election jitters jolt their operations. This is a bill that is sponsored by Majority Leader Amos Kimunya. The bill seeks to reintroduce coalition political parties where constituent parties retain identity but form a coalition party, as opposed to the current situation. It also seeks to replace political party with coalition of political parties. The bill provides that in case of a coalition political party, the coalition agreement must be submitted at least 6 months to an election. The coalition party will be registered in the office of the registrar of political parties. This is according to the proposed law. It also provides that a person may be expelled from a political party if he or she contravenes any provisions of the constitution of a political party, in this case prohibiting party hopping, which is a situation that has been seen happening in the country with regards to political parties and party hopping. Members there still deliberating, still lobbying on which position they would be going to, or which side they will be taking on this particular step, whether the mover of the bill be called to reply or no. So this is a crucial moment, this is a crucial time. And because it's a game of numbers, remember this is a bill that has elicited a lot of reactions on basically what it entails and what other members purport it might cause in the forthcoming general election. Then these two sides, those who are for yes and those who are for no, need to be careful on what they will be voting on. A recap on the 27 clauses that this bill has is that Clause 2 of the bill proposes to amend the Act by replacing the definition of political party, which again, this is an issue that members who rose on the floor of the House took an issue with. Some saying that the definition of a political party cannot be changed. But the bill proposes that the definition of political party be replaced with a new definition, and to insert new definitions of coalition political party, direct party nomination, indirect party nomination, and statement of ideology that are consistent with other proposed amendments to the Act contained in the bill. Clause 3 of the bill proposes to insert a new section on the roles or functions of a political party, including recruitment and enlistment of members, nomination of candidates for elections, promotion of representation in Parliament and County Assembly of special interest groups, promotion and enhancement of national unity, mobilization of citizens in political decision-making, solicitation and articulation of public policy priorities, and shaping and influencing public policy. This clause also proposes to insert a new section to provide for the reservation of a name, slogan, and symbol by a political party for 90 days. Clause 4 of this bill proposes to amend Section 5 of the Act. This is the 2011 Act, to provide that an application for the provisional registration of a political party shall be done after the reservation of a name, symbol, and slogan, and the lapsing of the reservation of the application is not done within 90 days of the reservation of the name, symbol, and slogan. The House is currently on the division stage. Currently in the chambers, members are enlisting themselves on either yes or no side to allow the bill move to the next stage or be halted, belled temporarily. Remember, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Cheboy, put the question on whether the mover of the bill be called to reply. But this is a crucial stage. This is a crucial bill that has necessitated members to take a vote on this. This is manual voting. Those who are for yes to move to the right side of the speaker, and those who are for no to move to the left side of the speaker. But lobbying is currently still going on. This is a stage where the House requires a simple majority, where if more members endorse the debate, the House moves to debate the bill for a period not less than 3 hours. This is a stage where the House requires a simple majority, where if more members endorse the debate, then the House will move to debate the bill for a period of not less than 3 hours. So lobbying has to continue. The two sides have to be keen on who wins the game. This bill is the only business of the day for members of the National Assembly on this day of 22nd December of 2021. It is the second day of these special sittings that were convened via the Gazette Notice number 13599 of 17th December 2021 to allow members dispense with a number of bills that are of national concern, among them this particular bill, which has elicited a number of reactions, some questioning the timing, some questioning the agenda. And that is the business on the floor of the National Assembly this morning. Lobbying continues for members to get the numbers for those who will vote for yes, for the debate to continue and the bill to go for the next stage, or for the bill to be halted, though temporarily. This is a bill that needs to be passed 6 months before the next general election. It is still on the second reading stage, and the mover is yet to be called to reply. Now, this will depend on whether those for yes will get the numbers or those for no will get the numbers. Clause 6 of the bill proposes to amend Section 7 of the Act to provide that one of the conditions for full registration of a political party shall include the address of the official website of the political party, and also to provide for the procedure to be followed for the registration of a coalition political party. Clause 7 of the bill proposes the amendment of Section 8 of the Act